Wrong show.
All right, it's Mark Podolsky, the Land Geek, with your favorite niche real estate website, thelandgeek.com. And because we've not been able to have an in-person boot camp, and I don't even know if we're going to be able to do one in August in Vegas, I'll have to ask the two Land Geeks here. We are doing one of the most popular, if not the most popular, segment from boot camp, which is Grill the Geeks, which is where we take our one-on-one coaching clients and we have the audience grill them and ask them their land investing questions and get a little behind the scenes look at how they're running their business. And then after that, the Nightcap OG dude buddy Scott Bossman is going to jump on. We are going to do our $1,997 toolkit giveaway. If you don't have the toolkit, it's awesome. If you do, you can gift it. You don't want to gift it, you can apply it towards flight school. You're in flight school, you can apply it towards coaching. You're in coaching, well, then you can apply it towards software, whatever you want. All right. Our guests today are two geeks. There's Travis Wood. Travis, how are you?
Doing great, Mark. How are you?
I'm great. It's great to see you. And before we hear Travis's story, I'd be remiss if I didn't properly introduce the nightcap man himself. You know him, you love him. Matthew Fortune 500 Forbes.
What's happening, Mark? How we doing, baby?
Travis and I both have the microphone envy. Travis and I were talking. I'm like, I'm not going to hold this. You were making fun of me, so I'm back on the Logitech.
I'm going to be talking into my pen the whole time, so just I hope you're okay with that. But
yeah, seriously. So Paul Brewer, what's up, Paul? He's on. Paul was on Gorilla Geeks. He might have been the first one, actually, to do that. I've got a bunch of unknowns saying hello. Jason Hoffman, hello. So, Travis, let's just start with you. Tell us a little bit about your story, your background, and then we'll go to Fortune 500.
sure. So I actually my day job, I'm a pilot by trade, and I've kind of dabbled in a lot of other things. I've done a lot of I do a lot of other real estate investing. We have some single family homes, and we invest passively in some syndications. And I actually you've had some infinite banking folks on lately, and I've actually a friend of mine that actually I do some infinite banking, who I have my policies through. Actually heard your podcast, thought it was pretty interesting, and it was actually the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. And so he sent it over to me, and I listened to it, and I thought it was kind of cool, and I thought it was something feasible that I could probably do kind of when I'm on the road or when the kids are at school. And so I kind of looked into it, talked to Scott Bossman, and thought it over for a couple months, and then finally went into flight school January of 19, and then started coaching, I guess, August of 19. And so a little over a year in the business, and yeah, so I'm just kind of plugging away, trying to, do my thing.
Great, great. So, before we grill Travis, let's hear Fortune 500 Matthew Forbes' story.
I was in wholetailing, so sort of like wholesaling for houses, but you buy on the super cheap and then you just list it on the MLS as a dump and then make more money that way. So I was doing that, and my job changed. I didn't have the time to go out and meet with sellers, and that's a lucrative business, but it's super time intensive, and you can't really do it as a side hustle because you have to go meet people and go to the house and inspect it and all that. And I found you on I found you on the podcast of like The Art of Losing Money.
Yeah.
And that's a good one. No, I've never met anyone who's ever listened to it besides me, but it's a great podcast of like how really good people have, made a mistake, screwed up, and what they learned from it. And you were on it. And the first 10 minutes, I'm like, dude, who is this clown show? Like, you got to be kidding me. And then you went through the model, and I'm like, the model doesn't suck. That does not suck. I think I kind of like this. And then I looked you up and was like, oh, you have a whole thing. So got hooked on your podcast, and eventually pulled the trigger. Spoke to Bosman, just like you, Travis. Pulled the trigger, did flight school, and then eventually did the coaching program, which ended about 6 months ago.
Yeah, and I love telling the story about the first time I met you and Anne Marie, your wife, at boot
Yeah.
camp. And I'm walking in the hallway. I'd already cut like my neck or something, or my face, and I'm like bleeding. And I've got the tissue paper stopping the bleeding. And here comes Matt and Anne
True.
Marie, and this guy comes with a baseball bat, and he's like, "Will you give this to Scott Todd?" Because Scott's thing is like the mini bat. He's like, now he doesn't have a mini bat. And Anne Marie at that point was very skeptical.
Oh yeah.
Very, very skeptical. And
Oh,
so Matt's all fired up in the room, and Anne Marie's like this, listening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Oh yeah.
like,
She hated you.
oh,
Big
yeah.
time. Oh yeah.
But by the end of the weekend, she was
She
drinking
loved
the
it.
Kool-Aid. Yeah.
She absolutely was. Yeah. I mean, after I wouldn't say we were successful. I wouldn't say that we failed. We broke even in the last sort of thing we had tried. So she was very skeptical about flying to Las Vegas to go to a real estate boot camp. Like that was like divorce time, and she did it anyways. And she was just ready to slit your throat from the minute that she met you. And then by the end, she's like, "I get it. It works. It makes sense. It's all super logical."
Matt, she's saying you're exaggerating. She said she didn't hate me. I think you're projecting now some of that hate.
Let me check my watch. Nope, I'm right. There it is. Yeah. No, she didn't hate you, but it was just the whole notion of like, we're going to go do this again. And like, there's no way, because I was really passionate about your method, right? And the fact that it's low money. Like, it's not like we were buying houses. You go
Right.
buy a house wrong, you have a problem, a big problem. You go buy land wrong, you probably break even, probably make some money, right? You just don't make like a huge return. So she was it didn't quite like feel like it was possible. I think that's how most people feel. Like it doesn't make sense. Like raw land, who wants to do raw land?
Well, yeah, I want to ask Travis, like, what did your wife think when you first said, "I'm going to go to this guy's boot camp. I'm going to join this flight school program"?
This is we're on the airways here. I don't know what language is allowed, but she was skeptical. I would say.
Yeah.
I believe that the term that was commonly referred to was he's going to go try and sell some useless desert to people, and so it was funny. It was initially very skeptical, but then she kind of saw. I walked into the model, and she's actually we still have single family rentals, and so she was open to it, but certainly skeptical at first. But the more she kind of saw. You see, some people get on here and tell you, well, yeah, I started flight school. I had sold 30 properties by the time I finished. And that wasn't me. I mean, this was a struggle. I had never done sales. I'm not the techiest guy. So like everything was a struggle, but, I've been in not quite a year and a half, and slowly but surely she's really seen, it works, and it's just, it's legit. She's starting to see what I'm doing, and so she's very, very supportive of it now. So it's been a good thing to see.
Yeah. So Travis, just to get us up to date as far as your journey, like has COVID-19 had any impact on your business?
Yes, because people have been sitting at home and they're all interested in buying land. So when this whole thing really hit, I kind of figured, well, I'm going to be sitting on some property because no one's going to have any money to buy land. And the exact opposite's been true. So I was sitting on what I thought was a decent amount of inventory, and I pretty much sold out of almost everything I had in the last month. So I'm now going from I've got a lot of inventory to I've got to scramble and get some. I've got a lot of mail out right now, but I'm kind of bumping that up even further. And so it's been a really good month of. It's been a tremendous month actually, just since this whole thing's gone down. And it hasn't been people panicking like, oh, I need a place to go bug out. The vibe I get is honestly, I think people have just had a lot of time to kind of hang out on the internet. And I've talked to so many people that are like, yeah, we've talked about getting a place, to go camp and maybe someday build something. And a lot of those conversations have gone on, and a lot of those people have turned into sales. So it's been really good.
Wow. You've had a 6-figure April, correct? Enterprise value?
I have, yeah. As far as not collected all, but yeah, as far as my terms deals, I think I sold 11 sales, and it was some of those are multiple lots. There's I think I sold 16 total parcels. So.
16 in April with over $100,000 enterprise value. Matt Forbes, pretty good month. How are things going with you?
One better than Travis.
One better than Travis.
That's my answer for everything. No, we
comparison's the thief of happiness.
No, I know. Listen, I think he's sold more deals than I have in April. We were chatting after the mastermind call. I sold 7 deals last week, and it was also over 100K. Which, listen, I've never done that before. We did not have a strongest Q1, and it just, I don't know what it is. I'm with Travis. I don't think anybody's panic buying. I don't know if that ever does happen. I need land, but a lot of the lead, volume is way up, doubled, and we're selling. We're selling properties. So, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, we've had a tremendous April, if not the best April in the history of Frontier. So it's been insane. Okay, so leave us a comment. Let's start grilling and asking them some questions while people are formulating some questions. I know some of those popular questions. I'm going to ask Travis first is, what's your fixed overhead? what's your fixed cost, not including mailing? Because mailing, I think, is more an investment than it is a fixed expense. So what do you, for your VAs and your software, what's your fixed expenses in this business?
So I'd struggle to give you that one right now, only because it's a question I've struggled with, and that was one of my biggest questions of what should I expect. And right now, as my sales have been increasing, I've been kind of basically putting that back into hiring more assistants. And so right now, I would guess my fixed costs are probably for this month, they're probably going to be in the $1,200 to $1,500 range, and that's going to be high. I've actually hired several new VAs to do some work, some of them on systems. I've hired someone to manage my Facebook account. I've hired a lot there's a lot of things and some of them are doing great work, and they're coming in and saying, no, you're doing this wrong, and they've made some great observations of the way I'm doing things. And so this month I paid a little extra probably to do some setup and getting some systems, but I think I'll probably be in about 1,000 to 1,200 is probably a reasonable range for all my VAs and software and things like that.
Okay, and before we get to Matt, how many VAs are you utilizing? That was one of the questions.
It's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. I think I have right now 9.
9 VAs. Wow.
Yeah, and some of them do very small tasks. Some of them are very specific. But so I have quite a few. So.
Okay, great. And then how many hours a week or how many hours a day would you say you're working in your land investing business?
Boy, that's a tough one. We were talking earlier, but it's with I have 2 kids that are 5. I have 2 boys that are 5 and 7, and they're at home right now. So. Yeah. My hours is hard to track, but it's more like by minute, lately. So I would say probably at least 10 hours a week, devoted to this, but there's a lot of phone calls and emails that are mixed in there too. So that's probably about what it is.
All right, great. So Matt, how about you? Fixed expenses, not including mailing. How many hours a week are you in the business? And how many VAs are you currently using?
My fixed expenses, not including the bigger VAs, the smaller ones are in here, is $1,459 a month.
Okay.
I think I pay more. I have more stuff done for me than the average bear, so I can work less in the business. So there's a trade-off there. Hours in the business or number of VAs, I have, 4 or 5 VAs that work for me every week. And then I have another 4 or 5 that come in and out as needed. That makes sense, with big ones being an intake person and a salesperson. And then an executive VA who is starting to take on more of the stuff that I don't really want to do, which is lovely. And then hours in the business. So in the last 3 weeks, 2 hours a day.
2 hours a day,
Like,
solid.
Yeah.
Now is that when you say 2 hours a day, is that Matt and Anne Marie, or is that Matt?
No, that's just me.
Okay.
That's just me. I've been really in the business the last 2 weeks just because the number of sales has gone up dramatically. And, we met, I'm in an accountability group with, another guy, and, we did sort of a Q1 wrap up, and it forced me to look at my numbers in a way that I really haven't done yet. And I found just glaring holes in the business as a result. So we've been working really hard to sort of stitch those up. But then also all of a sudden all these sales came through. So in Q1, I would tell you that I was probably working, maybe 4 hours a week in the business. Because it's pretty well automated. I was also not selling very much. Maybe there's a correlation there. I don't know. Yeah. But I'm really trying to get everything automated. I do not want to spend more than 35 minutes a week in this business. That is my goal. So that's kind of where we're at. So it's a lot of work now for no work later.
Yeah, no, I love it. Johnny Morrow's got a question. Travis, and Matt. Travis and Matt, what would you say are your 3 most valuable things that you use your CRM and VAs wise?
Okay. Number one most valuable thing is my intake manager. That was the first thing that really, when you get that off your plate and you're no longer trying to deal with that side of it, you're just approving, yes, that looks good, let's do that. That was a game changer to me now. And then, so that was a huge thing. Aside from that, it's a work in progress still, but Follow Up Boss is a CRM I'm using. Mm-hmm. And I am still learning how to implement that for my business, but it is drastically better than my legal pad and paper of, hey, I'm going to call this guy back in like a week. Now I set tasks of, when I get off the phone, someone says, yeah, I'm going to go out and check out this property in 3 days. I put on a reminder on my calendar that reminds me through Follow Up Boss, hey, do that. And so those little things, those have been nice. And then I've probably also, my most recent VA hire was one of my most recent was someone to manage my Facebook account, because that is such a time suck. And so, getting, and I think that's really what it is. It's just like Matt is better at this than I am, but getting those pieces off your plate so that you can actually think about business, not just what call or what email needs to be returned right now, is such a big thing. So those have been the 3 big ones that have helped me kind of be able to start getting things off my plate to free up my time.
Amazing. How about you, Matt?
So 3 biggest things overall, is that the question?
Yeah, the question is the most valuable things that you use for your CRM and VAs.
Oh, okay. All right. So VAs, yeah, intake is a no-brainer. I don't do anything for intake. I send a Vox. I'm like, yo, I just mailed 900 people in this county. Get ready. And he's like, okay, done. And he does he's all set up. His name is Eric. He's amazing. I don't deal with him at all. He knows exactly what he's doing. And I think a lot of people stumble on that side of the business, and that side of the business is so easy to outsource. And when you do, you're so much happier. So that's exactly where Travis is at. It's exactly how I was. I think I got him like a little over a year ago. Priceless. He's the man. I also use Follow Up Boss. My sales assistant uses it. And it's great because you can email and you can text right from it, which is huge. But also I pay the extra money and I record the calls. And so I have a sales manager, and when she talks to somebody and is like, I don't know how, that could have gone better, she'll send me a quick Vox. I go listen to the call. I give her pointers. She gets better, right? And so I love that about Follow Up Boss. Recording those calls is priceless. Or if I have a call, because I'll get on with people too, and I'm like, murdered it. I'm like, Megan, go listen to my call, right? And so
now, but Matt, in all fairness, though, you do have a sales background. That's your day job.
Yeah.
So would you recommend somebody who's new to sales and going through, let's say, our sales training, or maybe they had a call, like if they're one-on-one coaching, Tate kind of walking them through it, creating their script, sort of creating their flow, if you will, the questions they're going to ask. At what point would you say, okay, this is really valuable? Because at some point, it's like the blind leading the blind, right?
It is and it's not. I mean, you can learn a lot about yourself when you go listen to the call.
Okay.
Now, the truth is, if you're not in sales and you're not used to doing this, I recommend Scotch. Then listen to the call in that order, because you're going to hate it. But if you hate it, that means you're recognizing, you're like, wow, that was a dumb thing to say. He asked, like, what color is the sky? And I answered, I like cement. You're like, wow, okay, that makes no sense. Because you're thinking about the next thing you want to say as a salesperson, not listening actively to what the guy is saying, right? So you can learn a lot about yourself listening to your calls, for sure. So I recommend that everybody does it. You're not going to like it, but it's you got to get good at this part fast. You got to find your own voice, right? Just as a sales guy, I mean, I train salespeople is what I do. And the best way to do it is to go listen to the game tape, because that's what it is. It's game tape.
Travis, are you doing something similar in Follow Up Boss?
It's funny. I have not done that yet, but I'll call it on my list. But yeah, I do need to. And not only that, but sometimes, someone calls you and, like, I'm driving down the road and, like, wait, what did they say? Just for those reasons, it would be great to be able to go back and, like, wait, what was that guy talking about? And so yeah, I need to add that on. But there's a lot of, and I was actually at boot camp. Matt was the one that I was looking for a CRM, and he was actually the one that turned me on to Follow Up Boss. So yeah, that's another valuable lesson is learn from the people in the community.
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask you, have you had a one-on-one coaching call yet with Mimi just on Follow Up Boss?
I have not yet.
Yeah, no. See, I would recommend that, because if you're struggling to get that implemented, take advantage of the one-on-one coaching program, because that's really, really valuable.
Yeah,
go ahead, Matt.
So she got me into Follow Up Boss. Right, like I had no CRM forever, and then she's like, "Let me just show you mine." She's like begging me to get on a call with her, and in 5 minutes, I'm like, "Oh my god, this is a game changer." You'll learn, Travis. It'll blow your mind when Mimi shows it to you. It'll blow your mind.
Okay, well, problem solved.
All right, so we've got another question, and this is any advice for someone in flight school currently based on your past experience. Travis, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's very easy, particularly in flight school. At least for me, it was. I was very overwhelmed by many things. Particularly, like as I said, I'm not very techie. I have no sales. I mean, I have no aptitude whatsoever for any of the things that we have to do. But I think it's really important to look at every component and. And Scott talks about just what is your biggest pain point and identifying it and just going, okay, how do I get rid of this and make this stop? And I think for me, it's maybe I'm just a little slow, but to me, that is the biggest thing is keep writing, write those lists down of what do you, okay, I don't mind doing these things. This is okay, not so bad. And then this is terrible. And some of the things that you just have to do, you need to get on the phone to talk to people like that. That's important. But things like intake, that is something you can solve that problem of people calling to yell about your offers. And that's a very, easy one to solve. And so I think my biggest advice is to, do the swim lanes, identify those things that you really don't like or just causing you pain, and get really and don't be afraid to ask other people in the group, like, hey, how did you get rid of this, situation, or, how do you get yourself out of this in the business? Because I've had a lot of questions for other people in the group who have been very helpful of how do I get to that next step? And, just keep asking yourself what sucks in my business right now, and, and then just keep whittling away,
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Matt? Any advice?
Yeah, don't quit.
Don't quit.
That's it. Don't quit, right? Everyone I know who's successful didn't quit. Kind of sounds like a dumb thing to say, right? But this isn't a business that's easy to want to quit. It's sort of a slow-moving slog, and it takes a while. And in the beginning, you don't know what you don't know, which is a lot. Right now, you go through flight school and you learn a ton, right? But you just gotta keep chipping away at it. It's the one thing I keep nightcap, right? You keep chipping away at it, and if you don't quit, you'll eventually be successful. Just keep going. That's all you got to do. I wish someone had told me that, way in the beginning, because I stopped for like 6 months, and I fortunately got back into it.
What made you stop? Were you just get scared, or did you stop believing?
No, no. That was the weird part. Like, I went through flight school. I had bought property, and then we got stuck. And like, I can't tell you why we got. I don't know. We were building a house. Like, we have 4 kids.
You get life.
Like, I don't know. Like, something came up, and it's like going to the gym, right? When you're in the gym, it's not that hard. It's not the decision in the gym. It's the decision to go to the gym that's where you get stuck, right? And so we got stuck, and for like 6 months, we were not really doing anything. And I think a lot of people do that, and we sort of woke up and we're like, you know what? We own all this property. We have a very good understanding of the business, because I was still listening to podcasts and everything. And we were like, all right, you know what? We're going to do it or we're not. What's it going to be? And we're going to do it. Like, all right, well, then we're going to go sign up for coaching right now. And and Anna was like, okay, but we're going to do it. And we're like, fine. So the commitment, it really wasn't there in flight school, I guess. But then once we decided to go, we've gone pretty hard, ever since. So just don't quit.
Yeah, I mean, that leads like another question. I mean, Travis, for you, what was the biggest difference between flight school and one-on-one coaching?
I think in some ways, kind of like Matt, I think in flight school, it's so new. I was almost still like, okay, is this really going to work? Is this something I can really do? I mean, okay, great. Scott Todd can do this, but is this going to work for me? And, like, I'm a little slow in some of these, I'm not a wizard in all these things. But I think like Matt, I got out and I you have setbacks, and like, I sold a bunch of property, and then I had people wanted refunds for random reasons, or just they default, like, I had all these random things happen where you're just like all the winds out of your sails. But what I really found helpful in coaching was just knowing that, like, I have a resource of someone that's very capable. Eric's my coach, and so, like, and quite frankly, we unexpectedly moved right after I started coaching, like totally unplanned, and like, oh, we're moving in like 30 days. And so that was a chaos like no other. So that was very like a setback, but almost like middle way through my coaching, I was like almost exactly what Matt was saying. I was already in coaching, but I was like, I'm not getting enough done. And you just kind of have to throw down those, all those mental blocks and just say, look, whatever, and it is a constant struggle the whole way through of, like we talked about the overhead, like, well, okay, well, I can't, you can't, when you start flight school, go hire a sales manager. That doesn't work. But at the same time, you can't be afraid to hire people as you grow. And so I think that Eric has been a big help for me as far as like sounding ideas off of like, hey, I'm thinking about getting rid of this. Is that and he's been helpful in, ideas of how to implement some of these things into the business so it doesn't make things fall apart. And so that to me has been the biggest, just to have someone when you run it, or you run into little snags, whether it's technology or a property issue, like, hey, am I crazy for doing this? It's really nice to have an experienced investor you can go to and say, hey, what do you think about this? Am I crazy, or what do you think? And that's been very valuable to me, is just to have that extra set of eyes to help you out on things.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So here's another question. What is your typical contingency plan procedure when a property doesn't sell within 30 days? Do you ever utilize eBay or bid for assets to liquidate properties in inventory? Travis, we'll start with you again.
Well, I had a lot of these sales in April, and a lot of those properties have been in my inventory for a lot longer than 30 days. And so, I haven't had any go to eBay. I have a couple that I've had for almost a year. But the big thing is, I think you have to get creative. In fact, I had two properties that I just sold in the last month that I thought I really screwed up because I bought them for cheap, but they were landlocked, no road access, middle of nowhere. And it turns out first person to go out to try to see it couldn't get to them because 5 miles from the property, the road was gated off.
Ooh.
And so I called Eric thinking like, man, I'm done. Like I just, they were $1,500 a lot. And I kind of just I tried to mark them a little bit, but I didn't have any luck. And I ended up getting a photographer out to the property, and it took him 2 days, and it was a major pain. But they were actually beautiful lots, got some great pictures. And from the time I got those pictures on my website and started marketing those properties, they were both gone in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And they both sold. They were both like awesome, like 600-700% type terms deals. So I think you just got to find a way to get creative, And
Yeah, people always think I'm exaggerating when I'm like, yeah, our average return's 300 to 1,000%. Am I exaggerating?
Nope.
No. I mean, it's very possible. And I think the other big thing too is like Matt said, that's one of the big things that I like about the business is, especially with what's going on in the economy, even though land is selling, I don't have a mortgage note to the bank due. So if the property sits there, the taxes are not a whole lot to hold. And, it gives you a lot of, and worst case scenario, if I buy one of these and I have to, if it doesn't ever sell, well, I can deal with that, because I'm making margin on other properties that, you can deal with it. So that takes some, when you kind of accept it, like, I kind of look at it like, hey, if the worst happens and this property never sells, okay, cool, whatever.
Honestly, that's how I even got into the business because
yeah.
I had $3,000. I said to my wife, I'm going to go buy a bunch of property at an auction in New Mexico. She's like, what if you can't sell the property? I'm like, well, we own land. I mean, I got nothing to maintain. I've got nothing to protect. I'm not going to, fill up the house with a bunch of land. It's not going to annoy you. And I'm like, worst case, I'm like, maybe I'll get free haircuts or free dentistry. Like I'll barter it. She's like, oh, that makes sense. But to this day, like after doing this 5,500 times, I've never been stuck with a piece of raw land. But that's just me. Matt Forbes might be different. 30 days, Matt. What do you do with a piece of property? You liquidate it, or what's your procedure?
Well, so at the 30-day mark, I couldn't care less.
You could care less. Okay.
No. 30 days, 45 days.
What about Anne-Marie?
I don't care. I do know people who will like, oh, I'm going to dump it on eBay. Like, okay. Like, go ahead. I mean, if I get sick of a property, I'll just wholesale it. Whatever. But that's it. That is an irrelevant time frame.
Right.
I don't know where 30 days comes from. I know that was the question, but like, that's not part of the way that I attack this business.
Well, I always say in the training, like after 30 days, if that property hasn't sold, I change something. Now my change is I don't liquidate it, but I change maybe the down or the monthly.
I change it.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure. Yes, for that I change it. I'll do. We'll try to do different things to get it to sell, but I mean I don't see the purpose of liquidating it.
Right.
I'm not on board with that.
All right, so Brian McClatchy, also a one-on-one coaching client, he says, nice job last month. With all your term sales, do you mention the monthly note fee in your ads or just bring it up when closing the deal and doing paperwork? So is it by the way, or is it included in the actual ad itself? It's a good question,
Brian.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah, so I don't advertise that there's a $9.99 note fee, but dude, there's a fee for everything. It cost me $2 to fill up my tire at the gas station with air. It's air. It's freaking air. It's $2. So no, I don't. I just, when we explain how we close, we just tell them. And this came up on, I think it was Nightcap or something else. And somebody was like, oh no, it was the mastermind call. And they're like, I don't know. Like somebody questioned the $9.99 fee. And I'm like, that's never happened. I've never had anyone ever say anything other than like, oh, okay. So that's when I do it. Travis?
Yeah, I put it in it's in my listings that I do charge. I charge a $10 note service fee, and I've had questions on it, but again, one of the things too, and I think I mentioned this recently on one of our calls, was that, when you kind of mention to people that, look, this is how it is, but we use Geek Pay and so people can log in and view their balance, and that the fact that they can actually do that, it actually kind of gives me a little legitimacy. Like, oh,
Oh
this
yeah.
guy's not just putting his money in a coffee jar. When people hear like, oh, I can actually go view my balance and know exactly what my payoff is, or if I want to make an extra payment. Those things I think actually. So I've actually been able to use it to kind of add a little credibility. So I think there's a million ways to do it. It just I try to be honest. I don't try to just tell them how it is, and if someone's got a problem with it, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what it is.
it's one of those things. Like I'm comfortable doing it at the end, not as a gotcha, but just that this is just standard real estate fees. Like any real estate transaction, there's the assumption is there's always fees. Here's just our note setup fee. These are our monthly note collection fees. This is all included in your software and in managing your note. And this is what it is when we set it up. And they're like, oh. So when I say it with confidence, really no one questions it. On those rare occasions that someone says, hey, can you, waive my note fee? I'm just like, no. But thanks for asking the question.
No.
But no.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if we're negotiating over $10 a month, I feel pretty good about the deal. So,
Yeah. That,
right?
Yeah.
Like, you know
no
what?
one's negotiated that, but like they want
$4.99 for you because I'm your
Yeah.
best friend. Let's go sign the docs.
Yeah. Oh, sometimes if they say, oh yeah, Eric doesn't charge a note setup fee, and you guys have the same property, why wouldn't I just go with Eric? I'm like, go with Eric.
Yeah.
This is just the way that we do things, and I have different things that go on with my fixed expenses that maybe Eric doesn't. But at the end of the day, who do you want to work with, Eric or me? Over $249 note setup fee? Eric, absolutely. Yeah, and so that's how I lose sales. Okay, Austin Goff, do you still use a personal Facebook account or do you have a business profile? So Travis, what do you do on Facebook?
I do have a personal, and I just set up a business account. So I'm actually literally just like within the last week or two. Actually, one of my VAs set up the account, which is even better. So, but I need to get in the it's up to me though. I am going to start kind of spreading it out there and kind of getting it more out there. But as of right now, everything's coming out of my personal account.
Matt?
My personal account, Ann's personal account, Ann's sister's personal account.
Okay, great. Jason Hoffman's got a question. What time of day do you each typically work? Is it consistent, or is it kind of sporadic as things happen kind of situation? I'm curious how available you typically have to be on any given day. Travis?
So when my kids were in school, that used to be my routine. Was I would try to drop them off at school, then go get a workout in, and then do the business, for several hours, and then go with my day. But lately, with the quarantine stuff and homeschooling, I homeschool during the morning, and my kids kind of need a little supervision, so it's kind of I may be doing a few emails here and there, but then basically just fitting in whatever. And my day job as a pilot, like there's days where I'm just gone all day, but then there's also days where I'm in a hotel all day. So I've got the whole day to work on the business. So it's totally sporadic. And I think that's the thing where as you kind of get farther along in the business and you get more of it outsourced, it's not really an issue because now rather than worry about what my schedule is, how do I find someone to take care of this for me? So that my schedule is irrelevant to this problem, and that's what I'm trying to get, completed down. So.
Right. How about you, Matt?
We tend to work before COVID. We would spend time like during like maybe lunch, but usually before work, before my job. I try very hard not to do anything land related during my normal day because I have a full-time job. Every once in a while it happens. But now that I've got a sales manager, right? I mean, I haven't had intake issues for a year. So now that I have a sales manager who's handling all the inbound, like I find myself doing it at 6:30 in the morning or maybe at night. But 4 kids under the age of 13, we don't by this time right now 6 o'clock Eastern, dude, we're burned. So we try to get it in in the morning. And then Ann, she's been doing a lot more on the Facebook side, really trying to get marketing off the ground in a big way, she's sort of in it all day long, right? Because she can. So
Right. I feel like at some point we could all transition to how do you homeschool your kids?
oh yeah.
You know? Um, yeah, insane. So just found out seller has received 5 offers in the last month. Does this mean it's saturated and I should move from my marketing area? What do you think, Travis?
So my last property, my last property that I closed on, I was actually just reviewing because my intake manager had all these notes in LG Pass that I was reviewing when I did the because I just sold the property, but I was noticing that they initially responded that they countered our offer for the property because they had all these other offers for higher. And, I basically, and we did come up a little bit from our offer price, but I said, well, we're happy to do it at this price. And if that works, awesome, let us know. And, and then 2 weeks later, seller responded that they will accept, so I think there is probably a possibility where, there are some saturated areas, but then at the same time, you also take everything with a grain of salt that they're not just trying to talk their game,
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt.
That's what I would do. I'd be like, I got 11 offers. Come up by $2,000.
There you go.
Do it. Offer a price that you can live with, and let the chips fall, and otherwise just move on.
Yeah. I think my advice to that guy would be like, dude, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. There's 18 gajillion acres of land in the U.S. for you to go after. You want to be where other people are, right? So if they really had 5, like, I've never heard of 5. I've heard of I've talked to people like, well, I've gotten 3 offers in the last 9 months. I'm like, well, I'm the guy who can actually close. So if you want to close, if you want the actual cash, I'm your horse. Yes, I'm less money, but less money that's actual cash in your bank account is much better than more money that you never get. Take your pick, right? So I like the idea that I'm in a place where there are others. I think, it's Mythbusters plausible that it's oversaturated, but I'm sure everybody is still selling in those places. Like, I know the most saturated place in the world, and I can tell you 25 people at the top of my head who all sell property there. They're all still selling. So,
yeah, no, absolutely, and that's one of the reasons I feel so proud of our guarantee, because Travis is a pilot, and so pilots have skin in the game. Like, if they're not staying up to date with the how to fly the freaking plane, they're going down with the passengers, right? So
that's true.
How many times have your stockbroker, your financial guy's like, oh yeah, this is a great stock. Stock goes down. There's no consequences for them. So on our guarantee, we're like, look, we're keeping up with the most efficient, most effective ways to buy and sell raw land, and we guarantee it. And this training is not going to cost you anything. You're going to make it back in 180 days or less. Just show us that you're doing it. And so now we've got this, this skin in the game guarantee, which I feel really great about, because that, for me, answers that question. Like, don't worry about it in the market. This is a massive market. There's going to be 1 million people in this niche. You, me, 1 million other people are all going to run out of money before we run out of deal flow. So how about that for abundance mentality? Travis, did I make you uncomfortable there with the pilot analogy?
No, I'd fly on your plane anytime. So
okay, good. So Andrew Mino, go gadget sales. The greatest advice I've ever heard on sales is look at yourself as a consultant, not a salesman. That's good. That's a good comment, Andrew.
It's a great way to sell land too, right? If you're talking to somebody, it's not about you selling land. It's about, is this the right property for them? You can highlight the good stuff for sure, right? But in the end of the day, you don't want to sell somebody the wrong property. It's just going to come back and bite you anyway. So who cares?
Yeah.
So be consultative and, go find the right property for them. They'll do well.
There you go. Not sure if this question has been covered already. It has not. Do you allow buyers that are on term sales to build or alter the property in any way before they pay off their note? Travis, do you?
Building, no. I allow some people to do particularly. A lot of it depends on the value of the property. I mean, if it's a fairly cheap property and someone wants to, hey, I want to put like a shed out there, things like whatever, but no, when if it's a kind of higher value property, they don't have a lot of equity in it, probably not going to be very interested unless they, they find a way to increase their equity position in the property,
Right.
Before they start. But I don't allow people to build.
Well, you can't build until you own the property. Like if you go to the county to get a building permit, they're like, okay, show us the deed. Like you don't even own this, you can't build, so you can't get a building permit.
And I think that's a good conversation too. I had some customers that actually they were interesting folks, but they were ready to build. Basically, I got a call from a guy who was going to put a modular home on the lot, and he looked it up and saw I was the owner and called me to ask if it was okay. And he said, well, they said it was okay. I said, no, it's not okay. But I called him and I wasn't mad. I just said, look, that can't happen. And you know what? They're like, okay, like give us like a week. And they called me a week later and they're like, hey, we're getting a tax refund. Can we just pay this thing off? I'm like, you bet. So they got a property and I got paid off and they got their modular home on the property. So
I love
it. Can we pay this off? Sure.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
And I just got a referral from them that one of my sales this month was from a friend of theirs that bought a property. So
those are the best sales, aren't they? They're just so easy.
Yeah, those are good.
I love those. Matt, how about you? Will you? I mean, obviously they can't build, but will you let them go and camp or, use the property in any way? Maybe throw up a shed, fence it.
I don't care.
You don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't. To be honest, in all the deals I've done, no one's ever actually asked me, other than like pre-buying the property, can I build? And I'm like, yeah, no, for all those reasons, you can't. But I'm fairly lenient. It really also depends on the person, right? I got a couple of buyers who are like, dude, I wouldn't let them move a rock on the property, right? And I have buyers who would be like, yeah, dude, go build a mansion because I trust you and you're a good guy. Yeah. So I think it's very, very dependent on the property and also who your buyer is and your level of faith with them. But no, you're not building a house, right? You're not doing those kinds of things because it just doesn't. I own the property and you own the house. Like this doesn't make sense. So
yeah, no, absolutely. This is a question for you, Matt. Can you talk a little bit about how you and Anne-Marie managed the early parts of building the business while juggling kids' life? Now, Travis, obviously you can answer this too because you've got two young kids. Did you divide and conquer, work together after kids were asleep? What worked best for you?
Yeah, so we have 4 kids, and when we were in coaching, we were in the process of building the house that we are in now. So, like, just dumbest time ever to go try to build a business that I could think of. And our kids are, at the time, were 4 kids, 12 and under, 12 to 7 years old. So we've had a lot going on. We did try to just, you take this and I take this. And what we found was it was always best when we were sitting down next to each other working on the business. It seems odd that way, but I think there's something that's like, okay, she's working, I'm going to work too. We're going to get this thing done. There was something about that. And it also kept us on the same page. And my wife and I are very much on the same page about almost everything. You could ask us almost anything in separate rooms, and we'd probably give you the same answer, except for land. We have vastly different ideas about how this stuff should go down. So until we sort of realized that was the case, we would not be on the same page, which for us is a problem and very strange. But once we sort of figured out, like, you need to really dumb it down for the other person and really explain the why you're doing it the way you're doing it. Once we started explaining the why, then it was kind of no problem. She does her thing, I do my thing, and then we're together usually in the mornings before I go to work for half an hour or an hour. And then she and I will go on walks either midday or in the morning, and that's all we'll talk about. Just straight up, what do we need to get done this week? What do we owe our accountability partners? What are you doing? What am I doing? What's working? What's a disaster? And the more communication, the better for us.
Great. Travis.
And Scott Bosman is here.
And Bosman's on.
Oh, okay.
Is he on?
Great. He said that you can call him.
Oh, okay, great.
Not sure.
Travis, how about you? I'm going to have Scott jump on.
Yeah, I think it's my wife works far more than I do, so it's a challenge. So like, and she doesn't do anything in the land business, but so it's a challenge for me to try to balance, trying to get things in, but still I'm a dad and a husband, and you got to do those things too. So it's just kind of spinning all those plates as we say. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Scott Bossman, good to see you.
Dude, buddy.
Good to see you as well. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you great.
Okay, awesome.
How's it going? This has been a really good Grill of Geeks. First of all, we have to give it up for Travis and Matt. Like, they've been very patient. We're going on 50 minutes now, and they're like, especially like Travis is really nice, but like at some point you just think Matt was just going to leave, or like roll his eyes. Like, another question, So
not with that microphone. He can't leave that mic. Come on.
I love my microphone.
The mic is.
Thank you in the back. Thank you. Yeah.
I love the NPR voice. This is Johnny Morrow. Travis, what is your deal bread and butter now, and how does it compare to when you first got going?
So honestly, my standard deal, bread and butter deal, is kind of the same as what I started with. I work in one county, and I've ventured out a few different areas, but what I kind of look at as kind of what I would like to keep doing is, literally buying roughly $1,000 properties that I'm selling for $4,000 to $5,000 on terms, and mixed in with a variety of other properties. I've had a couple bigger. I've had one that was up close to 80 acres. I've had a couple other 10s and a 38. So to me, those. My idea of growing so far has been, let's keep doing what's working, but then let's mix it. I want to try to build my other inventory so that I have more to offer people, so that no matter what someone wants, I've got it. And so that I'm trying not to leave the bread and butter, because that, those little $1,000, $90 a month terms payments, well, the $250 doc fee and, all that, especially when you have a big month like this, that's a lot of income that paid for a lot of things this month. So I haven't really left anything behind. I'm just trying to add new things onto it.
Yeah, Matt, how about you?
I kind of have two. I've got this 50-acre buy for $4,500 or $4,000 or maybe $5,000, but it sells all in for like $28,500. And so I love those. We sold another one today. Those are really, really good. They're bigger. It's like sort of a bigger investment, so they're tough. But that's my bigger end, and then my lower end might just be these pretty quick hit RV lots that we've sort of come into our own on. We buy them for $300, $400, maybe $500, but probably $350, $400. And you're selling them cash $2,500 all day, or $250 a month for like 14 months or something like that on terms. So they sell. The key is like those ones sell really, really quickly. I can't keep those in inventory, as opposed to those bigger ones. They take some time. Those things don't just fly off the shelves, but when they do, they're delicious. Very tasty.
It sounds delicious. Here's a good question. Christopher Jew, if you had, all caps, if you had to work the business 5 hours per day, what would you do for those 5 hours?
I think the first thing I would do is, and it's actually on my list of things I need to do right now, is do the swim lanes. Map out your business and literally just ruthlessly say what's causing me problems, where do I need to get better, and I think you're going to find your answers right there. I've got a lot of areas where I could use those 5 hours right now.
Yeah, Matt.
I take kind of a different look at the land business. I don't know if this is, right for everybody. I'm not in the land business at all. I don't buy and sell land. I'm in the people business. I don't want to be the one buying it, and I definitely don't want to be the one selling it. I'm in the outsourced land business. Right. So if I had 5 hours a day, I would spend all of my time hiring and training the people who run this business so that I don't have to do it. And I got to tell you, after a year and a half of building the business, I thought that was the hard part. No. Right? Getting other people to do it for me and successfully in the way that I want, that's definitely the hard part. So that's the struggle that I'm in. I would easily spend 5 hours, training these people to do it. I'm not here to have another job. I'm here to build passive income and, sit and drink cocktails at my pool that I haven't bought yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Christopher Jew, like that's the whole beauty of this business is we want to solve the big two problems in life. We want to solve our money problem, absolutely. But we also want to solve our time problem. So we want to be able to have the time to do what we really want to do in life. And for Travis and Matt, that's not working in the land business 5 hours a day. It's spending more time with their children, their spouses, their friends, really doing the things that they're passionate about in life. Matt's laughing.
You're like, your spouse. I'm like, no.
Maybe not today, but typically, at least you want the option. You want the option.
I want money to just appear out of nowhere, like every month, just like it fills up my bank account again.
Yeah. So
if you don't want that, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast, right? That's the goal. So, getting there.
We got a ton of more questions. We're not going to get to them all, but I'm just going to quickly answer the ones that are really easy to answer. Is the $10 note service fee per month or a one-off? That's per month. Nat Pacheco, is GeekPay still 0 on with first deal? I don't know if I understand the questions. 0 on? So Nat, when you sign up with GeekPay, the first month is free. And it's either $49 a month for up to 10 notes or $99 a month for up to 99 notes. Doug Hoyer, seasoning fake accounts. I don't know.
For Facebook.
That's Facebook.
That's Facebook.
Doug, go look at the Mimi Facebook Live that we did.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you use Craigslist? And if so, how many ads a week do you post? And at what cost per stuck ad? That's a good question. We got 4 minutes. You want to take that, Travis? Do you use Craigslist?
Yeah. So I've had horrendous luck with Craigslist as far as like very little response in my area. I think it might just be kind of where I'm at because I've heard a lot of other people do. But I am still posting on Craigslist at $1 per stuck ad. But I need to work on that because I'm not getting much out of it.
Okay. Matt Forbes?
I don't use Craigslist.
You don't use Craigslist. Scott Bossman?
Nope. $1 an ad on Craigslist.
Okay. Landon Haycock's got a great question, and this is probably going to be our last question before we give our giveaway. How do you decide how much to mark up a terms deal versus cash? Is it tiered based on the value of the property?
I think it's got to be a little bit based off of you. And so like right now, I'm not going to discount much off the terms price because my inventory is very light. So I've got more buyers than I have land. So, if I got a glutton inventory and I've got someone that's got, cash that wants to buy it, then absolutely I'll cut them a nice deal. But so I think a lot of it just depends on where you're at. Do you need the capital or not? Do you just need the win? Sometimes if you're in a slump, you're like, I just need a win here. I need to move something. And so I think I think the key is don't get locked into just does this make common sense? If I sold a property of wholesale recently that I probably could have sold for way more on terms, but I more than doubled my money, and the other guy got a good property and I got a good deal. And I double my money in 2 weeks. Like that's a win, So
yeah, Fortune 500.
Yeah, I'm with Travis. I don't really think about the cash price until somebody brings it up, and I'm like, I don't know. It's $28,000 on terms. You want to make me an offer? I'm happy to listen, right? And if they were like, I'll give you $21,000 cash today, I'd be like, no problem. Here's my routing number. Do it. So to me, it's a deal by deal. Kind of thing. But I'm really just looking at what other people are selling for in the area and what I've sold for in the past at this point and just rolling with that. And yeah, if I haven't sold the property in a couple of weeks, maybe I'm like, hey, sure. Who cares? Like just land, maybe I could have made more money. Maybe not. I don't know. So, I mean, I out of the 7 properties that I sold really fast, I took a $50 deposit on the first one because I hadn't sold property in like 6 or 7 weeks. And I'm like, oh, $50, I'm in, I'll take it, right? By the time 7 days was over, I was like, hell no, am I taking $50? I just sold the other 2 I have, right? And, all these other properties. I'm not taking $50, dude, $2,500 in cash right now, go. And like Ann was like, wow, you've really changed in like 144 hours. I'm like, yeah, I have. And I'm like, by the way, there's no way that guy comes back and actually, puts the rest of the money in the doc fee down. Yada, yada, yada. Guy did it yesterday. Paid up all the way. You never know.
You never know. All right. Well, you guys, thank you so much for being on Grill the Geeks. I'm just going to ask the last question. Travis, final words of wisdom for the people listening. Maybe they're on the fence about the land business. Maybe they're on the fence about flight school or coaching. What would be your final words of wisdom?
I'm going to steal Matt Forbes' words of advice of don't quit. Because honestly, that really is, because it's like anything you do, there's going to be times where it sucks and it's not fun. You're not doing well at it, and so to me, I gave myself a 3-year horizon, said I'm not quitting. I can't quit for 3 years. So I might as well do something, be productive and do the best I can. And if after 3 years, I just doesn't work and, I'm only about 16 months into it, but I'm pretty happy with the way it's going. And so I think if you just kind of take a longer term horizon and don't let the daily frustrations that are going to come up, just got to step back. Sometimes you have to just walk away and take a breath. So don't be afraid to just take a break for a day, but just keep on plugging away.
Fortune 500, Matt Forbes, final words of advice.
So if you're watching this and you haven't committed to this, why not? Honestly, why not? Look at Travis. If that dude can sell property, look at him. Big, goofy guy. If he can do it, for sure, you can do it. And I remember sitting here watching these and being like, I don't know. Like everybody who tries this says the same thing. It works. Yeah. The people who quit go, it works, but it was sort of too much work over the 3 years, so I don't want to do it. That's why this business is so great. Right? Just be committed and go do it. And if I haven't really heard about this guarantee, Mark. So is that for flight school? Is that the deal?
Flight school. Toolkit.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Come on. So you'll give people their money back for flight school.
Yeah.
If what?
If it doesn't work. They show us their work. They follow Scott Todd's recipe. They do the work and then it doesn't work.
That's wicked smart. Yeah, that's a slam dunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there it is, right? Like flight school will teach you everything you wanted to know, and if you're willing to give me my money back, then I don't understand. Like, get off the couch. Let's go. 3 years is coming one way or the other. Where's Mike Zano? Bosman, where's Zano in that quote, right? It's coming one way or the other. Either you're going to have 15 grand of passive income in 3 years, or you're not. And either way, you're going to be here. So, like, whatever, put the work in. Who cares? It'll be worth it.
And
that's what they tell.
And to Matt's point, like, I think Travis is a great case study. Like, if that guy can do it,
honestly,
coming from the worst business background anyone can have, the pilots, no offense, they're the worst business people ever. They're like, where's my checklist? I'm like, dude, it's business. It's not math. There's no checklist.
I showed up first day of flight school thinking, like, there's just going to be a checklist. I'm just going to read it off and be like, I'm done. Where do I go?
Yeah.
Where's,
Yeah. It's like, so if he can do it, anyone can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I have one other piece of advice. One other one is that if you end up doing, and I don't know why we talked to this guy the other night on Nightcap, but if you end up doing flight school, like, you got to go to boot camp. You got to go to boot camp. Like, I've been to 8 of them.
8 of them.
I think.
Yeah.
Maybe 7, maybe 8. Like, the friends I've met, are you kidding me with this? Because I don't get to go to my buddy Ken Sullivan and be like, hey, Kenny, you want to talk about selling land again, buddy? I love it. Let's talk about it. He's like, no, shut up and get away from me. Right? But to go and learn from you guys, like, and develop those relationships, because I've wholesaled to people in that group. I've gotten funding from people in that group. I've made the business work with the people from that group. So get off the couch, go do flight school or whatever. Mark, give your money back. Like, come on. Where was that guarantee 3 years ago when I did it?
I wasn't smart enough. There weren't enough pilots in the group for me to even think about this. I'm like, I want to be a pilot. Like they are the greatest people on the planet. Like, we're trusting them, but they have to be well trained. And they're like, we know they're well trained because they've got skin in the game. Like, like Travis isn't having an all-night bender, then getting on in the cockpit. He's in it.
That's what I'm trying to sell land. Like, I can't go to nightcap and then go fly the next day. So it's like, it's causing me major problems.
I'm just trying to envision Travis on an all-night bender. It's exciting.
That's
envision. Yeah,
that's true. We should monitor Travis on nightcap. Like, okay, like you and Bossman are are slurring your words by the end of it. Now we just have to bring in Travis and just see,
Hold on. I don't ever slur my words on nightcap ever.
Not true.
Ever?
Not true.
Ever?
Okay, maybe last week, but last week was an anomaly. I had sold a bunch of property and I didn't care. It was very, very different. Most of the time, though, no big deal. So there you go. Come to Nightcap and ask Scott Bosman questions. Free Scott Bosman advice.
We only enforce the 2-drink limit when it's needed. So feel free to push your limits a few times, and we'll see what happens.
That's been enforced on Scott. It's been enforced on Zeno, but not been enforced on me yet.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
And by the way, we don't talk about this enough, but I just listened to a podcast, and Matt Forbes, please don't judge me. In fact, don't even listen to this. This is for Travis and Scott Bosman. Matt, you can drop off. I was listening to this podcast called Unlocking Us with Brene Brown. If you know who Brene Brown is, she's like that vulnerability shame researcher. So she's having these experts come in about COVID-19. Like, there was one guy who came in on grief and grieving and just talking about we're all sort of, grieving what we've lost in quarantine and these little things that we can do, from birthday parties to even, funerals and just getting together with our families that don't live with us. Like, we're all sort of grieving these little losses. But this last one was really interesting. It was a guy talking about loneliness. And he was Dr. Vivek Murphy. And there's 3 sort of spheres of loneliness that we all go through as human beings. The first one might be with our spouse. Some people can be in a lonely marriage, and that's a thing. Other of us can be lonely with friends, where we're showing up with our friends, and when you leave the exchange, you're like, I don't feel close to that person at all. I actually feel worse. And then the other part is community. And when, what Matt said, when you come to boot camp, that fills that void of loneliness of having a community of like-minded people. And even just these Facebook Lives, just selfishly for me, it fills that void. And the fact that I can Vox Matt Forbes at any time or day or night and just ask, some random question or get some silly advice about some crazy Anglophile television show, I feel less lonely. And I can't tell you the ways that this guy has improved the quality of my life. Before Matt Forbes, I never heard of Peloton. I got a Peloton. Before Matt Forbes, nobody told me how horrible I sounded on the podcast. I got his freaking his microphone, right?
Yeah.
The boom mic doesn't come in. He gets a boom mic. I Vox him. Where do I get the boom mic? I bought a boom mic. So this is the little exchanges of how these people come into your life. You have community. They increase, that part in your life where you're not so lonely with these things. And for Travis, the same thing. I can always just contact him and get some kind of wisdom. And it's amazing to have that community and have those people where we have this common bond of buying these crazy assets that live forever and helping people buy them and getting this passive income, and all for that same sort of why and purpose of improving our quality of life and improving and deepening our relationships because we have the time to do it. So guys, bring it in. Virtual hug. Thank you.
Group hug.
Group hug.
Kind of lame, but I'm in.
And
it's not the lamest thing I did today, sadly.
What
It's way worse, Travis. Way worse.
Now it just got weird.
What's the lamest thing?
I can't talk about that online.
Oh, okay.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you guys. And then Scott, we're going to do the giveaway. The Nightcap OG.
Ready?
Scott Bossman, you ready?
I want to watch.
I'm ready. So we got.
Yeah, of course. I'm not kicking you guys out.
I want to watch.
$1,997 giveaway, Mark Podolsky. So you can win a toolkit. If you already have the toolkit, you can gift a toolkit. You can apply it toward flight school. If you're in flight school, you can apply it toward coaching, so on and so forth. Ready? I think this one's well deserved because he's pretty active in our Facebook group. Ready? Here we go.
Yeah. It's
no one can read that.
Doug Hoyer. Doug Hoyer, congratulations!
Awesome. That's great.
That's awesome, and he's always leaving comments, like every Facebook Live. Congratulations, Doug Hoyer.
He watches. He shows up to all the shows. He's giving advice in the group. He's a notary, so it's helpful to have. Again, speaking of the community, everybody brings their own gifts to the table, and that he's a gift to our community. So that's awesome.
Wow! Congratulations, Doug Hoyer. And again, thanks everybody for being on this Facebook Live, YouTube Live. You know, the Periscope people, we got like one or two people from Periscope. I think we're like invisible on there. We're just, whatever.
Yeah, start somewhere.
Yeah, start somewhere. Guys, I have to tell you, I feel a little shamed, but I missed Nightcap. I still haven't watched the recording, and I love Nightcap. What did can you just kind of give me the cliff notes of what I missed Wednesday night?
Yes.
I'll let you do that, Matt.
I will give you the cliff notes. Are you ready?
Yes.
Scott came on and said, this is what we're going to talk about. Mike wasn't sure. We all started drinking. We answered 10 questions. We talked about Star Wars for 11 minutes. Then we talked about some other random subject. Then we answered 9 more questions, had a cocktail, and then everybody fell asleep.
Okay.
That was
all right. You know what, Scott? We're going to have to do this again because there's another good question for these guys. Do you have a favorite land purchase story?
Ooh.
Do you guys have one that comes to mind? You do? What is it?
Okay. So I wanted to get a new area. So I leaned on one of the people that I know in the community to give me a new area, which was Apache. And I'm like, this is going to be great. So we mailed Apache. Nothing. Crickets. Nothing at all. And I'm like, no, we're going to go do this. So we're going to go buy a wholesale deal in Apache. So we went out and we bought a wholesale deal in Apache. Nothing. Crickets. Nothing.
You couldn't buy a wholesale deal in Apache?
No, we bought one. But we marketing it and we nothing. Nothing. All of a sudden, out of the woodwork, the guy's like, yeah, I want to buy that property. And we're like, whoa, this is really early in our career. We're like, what? He's like, yeah, so I parked my RV in this guy's lot for like $150 a month. And your land's only $125, and that's where we want to be anywhere. It's actually cheaper for me to park my RV where I want to go camping. And I'm like, okay, perfect. So we did the deal, and I'm like, oh, okay, I hate Apache, and I never want to go back ever because it took 3 months to sell it. And then the guy who wholesaled me that deal came back and was like, I have the property next door. The guy defaulted. Do you want the property? And I'm like, yeah. So I called the guy, and I'm like, hey, do you want this property? He goes, yeah. So then I resold that property to that guy. So now he has 2 lots. The cool part was we bought it for like $1,200 or $1,500 for the lot or something. The guy put $1,000 down plus a $249 doc fee. I was out of the deal instantly, right? Once he bought the first one, and the second one was a no money deal because he's like, yeah, $1,000 down. I'm like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. $1,000 down. So that's my story. I loved it.
That's a good one. Travis, you have a favorite?
Probably the one I mentioned earlier was I bought 2 10 acres that were landlocked that I thought I really screwed up on. That I paid $3,000 total for them, and they've sold now for $18,000 on terms. So
wow.
that was probably, and it was more just I thought I'd really no, I'm never gonna sell them, and I told people exactly these are in the middle of nowhere, they're hard to get to. Oh, that's awesome! I don't want anyone to find me. I'm like.
Right.
Perfect.
Got that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So those were good ones. So
yeah. Now, Travis, your kids are young, but Matt, your kids are old enough. Like, do they understand what you're doing? Like, do they want to get involved?
The top 2 do. I pay them $5 a lead, and they work my account. So my son Patrick works my account, and Jackson works my wife's account. And they are learning this business by responding to people.
No kidding. Could I have their email address? Because I'll offer them $6.
Dude, he would take it in a heart. I'm already like, dude, that's way too much money. They got like 69 leads this week. I'm like, I can't afford you guys anymore. This is out of control, right? They're like, oh, my youngest is like, I'm going to buy a pool. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, no, it's this many leads. Yeah. I'm like, wow, you calculated.
Give them commission, Matt.
Okay. It's crazy. So we got them actually in it, and it's interesting to watch an 11-year-old respond to people on Facebook, but they're getting the hang of it, right? They're really good at engaging people and drawing what they want out of it, and then they put in a lead form in Airtable, goes over to Airtable, gets zapped over to my salesperson, she follows up, and I make cold calls in my basement. So
that's cool. Travis, I assume like your kids are just like going like this throughout the house. We're flying. We're just like Dad.
No, I'm trying. I want them to stay in school. You know, I mean, we got to make honest people out of them. So
don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Thank you. Stay on the straight and narrow.
All right. Well,
Hi, Anne-Marie.
Hi, Anne-Marie.
Say hi.
Hi, guys.
Anne-Marie.
Hi, guys. How are you?
That was good. Somebody said I need their emails too. My Facebook VAs are not working out. Anne-Marie, your kids are like, we're creating like our own little Facebook Upwork. Land Geek Upwork.
They really are.
Yeah.
It would be faster if I responded myself, but they're doing a good job.
Yeah, they're getting really good though.
They are. They're doing a good job.
Yeah. We hire them out at $7 a lead. So if anybody wants them, let us know.
Yeah, see. That's
$1.
That's why we call them Fortune 500 Forbes. There you go. All right. Well, thanks everybody. And Anne-Marie, I'm sorry that we didn't. I mean, it's been like an hour and 15 now. We didn't get a chance to like grill you. So, Scott Bossman, do you think we get Anne-Marie to do the Grill of Geeks next week?
She'll do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what we should do? We should do a Grill of the Geeks with the spouses of, like it could be like Valerie Burnett. It could be Jen Kelly, Anne-Marie
Valerie
Forbes,
and her one-day-old child.
And her one-day-old
good next Friday.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be any chaos. Hey, John can hold the baby once in a while.
That's what I keep saying to him.
I mean, he should be a pro now.
Yeah, he's got 14 kids.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Exactly. Who else is coming to mind, spouses? Andrea Miller and Dylan are doing it together. Well, I think Andrew's more taking the lead.
Jen and Tyler.
Landon Tria,
but they already did it.
They already did it.
Yeah.
So.
But that would be really interesting.
Grill the Geeks, the spouses edition.
Yeah, Anne-Marie,
you should get
this
the
is my
spouses that
impersonation
aren't
of you
involved
at boot camp that first day.
Yeah, so like, what's the deal? Like, you were not happy with him, and you're trying to tell him that you were okay with it.
No. I had nothing against Mark.
Right.
I had never met Mark. I had everything against you.
See what you do, Podolsky? See that?
I know.
I got to live with that all weekend.
I know.
We're quarantined.
I made a great first impression. Like I sliced off half my face, and I'm like, "Hi guys," in Vegas.
Right.
She's like, "This is the guy who can't shave,
like,
Matt," and you're listening to him.
We're in this weird casino, right? And like, we're East Coast, and it's Pacific, so we get up at like 1 a.m. to go eat breakfast because it's 5 a.m. and we're down there, and there's nobody around. And who comes lopping along? And I'm like, oh my god, there he is. He's right there. That's Mark Podolsky. I'm like, Ann, that's the guy. I'm like, that's him. And she's like, you're an idiot. Thank you. I can't believe I'm here. I want to hurt myself. So that was like the first morning because we were there like a day early. And then the second morning is when we caught you. And I'm like, there he is. Let's go with the bat.
Oh, yeah. I really thought at one point during boot camp, Anne-Marie was going to pull like an airplane and just douse herself with gasoline and light herself on fire. And be like, he won't let me go back to the room. I'm in Vegas. I'm stuck in this room with a bunch of land investors. Like, take me to the spa, honey.
And here we are 2 years later.
2 years later. See? It all worked out.
8 boot camps later. Come on.
8, yeah, that's right. So
can't match.
Honestly, like it's worth going to boot camp just to hang out with the Forbes Just
What?
that alone.
We're in charge of drink tickets, so
And in charge of drink tickets. Yeah.
we're kind of a big deal. Just saying.
See, and you did that. That was your anchorman voice with that mic.
Mhm. When we talk about drink tickets, we're very serious.
Yeah, for sure. Travis, are you going to come on the podcast and talk about your journey? And we'll have to like get you a mic, like a really good mic.
Oh, wow. If I can get a mic, then I'll do anything pretty much. I mean, that's basically my next goal in life.
Won't take that out of context. Fantastic. Can't wait to see you at the next one. Okay.
All right, this is really starting.
That might have been a mistake.
This is starting to devolve. Scott
I love it.
Bossman, thanks for being on, buddy.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure. Sorry I joined late, but I'll go back and watch.
All right,
Rewatch.
are we going to do this together? 1, 2, 3. Let
Let
freedom
freedom
ring.
ring.
And
Why do you guys have to wait so long? Just say it. Just say
it's
it.
more dramatic.
I
It's
thought
a
the point was
dramatic
to be
pause. Wash
You
your
can't
hands.
pregnant pause it. You got to go on stage.
All right, let's do it
3,
again.
1,
Let's-
go.
1, 2, 3. Let freedom
Let
ring.
Freedom ring.
Not nearly as satisfying to me.
Instead of going lead freed and everyone's freed. Peterson's in the background. You got Bear Aaron mouthing it because he's so far behind. Yeah.
Travis, you see what I have to put up
Perfect.
with? This is like a weekly
gonna-
thing.
I don't know. I don't know how you do it. I mean,
It's literally like having a critic on your phone
I know.
once a week, a Voxer.
I don't even work here either.
You
I know.
should try and live with him, Mark.
It is extra special. Yeah, for sure. In all
No,
the
thank you.
Yeah.
no, thank you. All right, boys.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Yeah.
you guys have a good weekend.
All right, thanks.